The history we are taught in schools is a sanitized version, a smoke screen designed to distract us from the real mechanisms that govern the world. We were told that Hans Christian Andersen was merely a melancholic writer of children's fairy tales, a creator of modern myths meant to offer moral lessons to the young. But what if this innocent facade hides something far more sinister? What if his stories were not written to entertain, but to warn us, or even to document a secret process? Behind the text of the Red Shoes lies a brutal symbolic map, an esoteric code describing the mechanisms of psychological manipulation, rhythmic possession, and the sacrifice demanded by an unseen hierarchy. Strangely, this ancient symbol of crimson footwear did not remain trapped in 19th century folklore. It still pulses today in plain sight, within the most exclusive and influential circles of the global elite. Today, we move beyond the surface of the story. We dismantle the illusion of innocence step by step and enter the dark labyrinth of occult initiation. We will analyze how a simple item of clothing becomes an anchor for mind control, and how trauma is used as a currency in exchange for power. Stay until the end, because once you learn how to read these signals, the facade of the modern world will begin to collapse. To understand the depth of this signal, we must erase every softened version from our minds and return to the original text published in 1845. The story follows Karen, a poor and vulnerable girl who becomes obsessed with a pair of shoes made from glossy red leather. From the very beginning, Andersen places these shoes within a context of transgression. Karen wears them to church, shifting her attention from the spiritual to the material, from the sacred to the profane. But the real nightmare begins the moment her feet slip inside the crimson leather. The shoes take absolute control. Karen can no longer stop. She is forced to dance through rain, through mud, over thorns that tear into her flesh day and night, without rest. This is not a simple metaphor for vanity or punished pride. Andersen describes with surgical precision the phenomenon of compulsive possession through rhythm. The girl's body no longer belongs to her. It becomes a vehicle for an external, foreign will that exhausts her to the edge of death. Desperate, Karen seeks a radical escape. She goes to the house of the town executioner and asks him to perform an act of extreme brutality, to cut off her feet with an axe. The executioner carries out the order. But here lies the hidden detail, the most disturbing element that classical literary analysis often ignores. After they are severed from her body, the bloody feet, still trapped inside the red shoes, continue dancing on their own, disappearing into the dark forest and periodically appearing before her like a ghost of her own trauma. In the language of modern psychology and esotericism, this is the perfect description of trauma-induced dissociation. The body is separated from consciousness. The part of you that accepted the pact, the part that was traumatized, continues to obey commands and dance for its masters, even when you believe you have been set free. In mystery schools and ancient occult traditions, colors are never chosen at random. Bright red or purple was historically the exclusive color of kings, Roman emperors, and high priests who performed blood rituals. But why footwear? In occult anatomy, the feet represent our connection to physical reality, the base or foundation upon which we build our existence. To control someone's shoes is to control their direction, their path, and their destiny in life. When Karen accepts the shoes, she unknowingly passes through a process of inverted initiation. She gives up control over her own foundation. The endless dance is a direct reference to ritual trance, a technique used since antiquity to suspend the conscious mind. Through repetitive movements extreme physical exhaustion, and isolation, the psychological barriers of the individual are completely destroyed. In that moment of maximum vulnerability, an external force, a hierarchy from the shadows, takes control. This process demands a fixed price: self-mutilation. In order to break the bond with the magic of the shoes, Karen must sacrifice an integral part of herself. Andersen's coded message is terrifyingly clear. Once you have stepped onto this path, once you have allowed an outside force to dictate your rhythm, you can no longer leave whole. The exit from the system is always paid for in blood, in the loss of identity, and in a trauma that will follow you from a distance for the rest of your days. If all of this belonged only to the past, the story would remain nothing more than a historical curiosity. But if we look closely at today's pop culture landscape and modern structures of power, we begin to notice a recurring fashion anomaly that defies the logic of simple coincidence. From Hollywood red carpets to heads of state, figures within the global financial system, and even high-ranking religious officials, red shoes appear with a frequency that feels statistically impossible. Within communities of symbolic analysis and esoteric research, this phenomenon is often labeled the Red Shoe Club. This is not a physical club with a membership list at the door, but a discrete visual code, a tactical signal of recognition displayed in plain sight for those who understand the language of the shadows. It suggests that the wearer has passed through the very process Andersen described. These people have agreed to place their foundation at the disposal of a larger system. They have agreed to dance to an imposed rhythm, to perform a specific role on the global stage, no matter how exhausting or destructive it may be to their own psyche. In exchange for this submission, and for the dissociation induced through the sacrifice of their own authenticity, the system grants them rapid ascension, wealth, and a status unreachable for ordinary people. They are the modern executors of an ancient dance, carrying on their feet the symbol of blood and the pact that binds them to the hierarchy in the shadows. But beyond elites and untouchable symbols, Andersen's warning descends into a deeply psychological level. In modern psychiatry, severe trauma can produce something disturbingly similar to what Karen experiences in the tale, a fracture of the self. When a person is subjected to extreme pressure or manipulation, the conscious mind may retreat in order to survive, leaving an alter ego, or an automated part of the psyche, to carry out the tasks dictated by the abuser. Karen's feet dancing on their own, separated from the body, become the perfect metaphor for this destructive self-defense mechanism. This is the true trap of the red shoes. They do not merely steal your physical freedom, they fragment your mind. The modern system does not only seek people who obey orders. It seeks fully dissociated individuals, capable of ignoring their own conscience and functioning like biological puppets programmed to never stop moving. Fairy tales were never merely innocent bedtime stories for children. In an age of absolute censorship, they became the ingenious method through which initiates and lucid observers of reality transmitted coded truths across generations, hiding them from the eyes of the unprepared. Hans Christian Andersen left us a warning of extreme gravity, written in crimson leather. Be very careful what gifts you accept from the shadows, and what compromises you make in exchange for validation and success. Because once you put on their shoes, you may be forced to dance to their music forever, even when your own feet no longer want to carry you. Is this nothing more than a cultural coincidence, a bizarre fashion trend stretched across centuries? Or are we witnessing the continuous manifestation of an ancient symbol that governs the world from the shadows? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Your debate gives life to these analyses. If you want us to keep decoding the signals hidden in plain sight and dismantling the facade of this reality, press the subscribe button and activate notifications. Stay vigilant, look beyond the surface, and above all, think for yourself.